Good evening, good evening. This is Spirit Journey. Boy, this is my third or fourth attempt to do this video. Yes, today, as you see, the time is 9:12 p.m. It is Tuesday, May 12th, 2020. And I didn't think I would do a video to discuss this. I didn't want to put up any more videos, at least for a while. But my curiosity and my dismay about it got the best of me. Yeah, I want to talk about the 26-year-old man, a black man. He was a jogger, and he got shot to death by these two white individuals because he was being labeled as a burglar. And I heard about the incident no more than a week ago, I think. And interesting, this happens, and shortly after there was arrest. So I thought in my mind, I thought this event just happened, and then they did the arrest. No, not at all. This murder occurred almost 3 months ago. I heard nothing of it. The killing was done in Georgia in February 2020. And I'm thinking, wow, this reminds me of George Zimmerman in Florida, the stand your ground state where you can kill somebody because you're just standing your ground. Well, I remember that case with George Zimmerman. Yeah, that's my little doggy snoring in the back. I'm sorry about that. Remember George Zimmerman killed a 17-year-old black boy, a young man, and he was just the black boy was just on his way. He was in high school, a high school boy, and he went to the supermarket. I mean, some store to get something to eat, and he was on his way home. It was around maybe 7 p.m. and it was still daylight. And he got racially profiled. He never seen the guy do anything, and he calls the cops. This George Zimmerman, and in short, after calling the cops, even though the cops, the 911 dispatcher says, stay in your car and don't come out, we're going to send someone. Well, he does anyway. He disobeys, brings his loaded gun, confronts the young guy, and you hear in the audio, because he was following the young boy, the young man, and the person that the Travon Martin, I'm just going to say that Travon Martin, the victim, he was talking to a friend on the phone. And you hear on the phone when in the courtroom when they were playing, at least the part that I got, you hear Travon say, leave me alone, get off of me, that's the word, get off of me. So there was an assault. Well, this George Zimmerman gets off based on stand your ground, even though he disobeyed orders, even though he brought a gun, so he intended to use it, you know. So I'm thinking about this is going to be a trial now, and I'm thinking, I feel, I don't know, I feel a little suspicious because of this George Zimmerman getting off, and there was not an arrest right away, and they have, the parents were even told initially. The parents didn't know where the kid was. He just, again, the kid goes out to get something to eat, doesn't come back. It's just really weird. So I think with this new case, my thoughts were, like at first I couldn't believe it. Could this happen? Because it sounds so Hollywoodish, so over the top. And when I say Hollywoodish, I mean there were movies of, to just make a mockery of black people. Oh, I saw a black man running, so, oh, he must be stealing something. Just stupidness like that. Well, um, that's in part what happened. This presumption. And I'm concerned that because of the Trevor Martin case, okay, it's in a different state. This new killing / murder occurred in Georgia and not Florida. And I'm afraid that something that they're working on something. Now, this is almost 3 months. In 3 months' time, even though the shooters were finally arrested because of public opinion and protests, they had almost 3 months to prepare something, to do something, to protect themselves, even if it's to go to trial. So it's like setting up behind the scenes something, and you had someone that already declined. What do you call it when they excused themselves of getting, was it the judge or something? Their excuse, they said that it's a conflict of interest about X, Y, and Z. So they finally have someone, and this person that they're going to use as the judge, black female. And I'm thinking, smoke screen. That's what came in my mind, a smoke screen. Now, I mean, I don't know this person, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm just expressing what I feel, or what I felt when I saw the black female judge. It's to show or let you believe that, justice has to come out. Let's get a black person, because if we get a white person and something goes wrong, they're going to call it racism. So let's get a black person to preside over the case. But, black women don't have the same power as white men in this country. Yes, they may have someone, a black woman in this case, to preside over the hearing when it comes about. But does this person, black woman, have influence? Does she have power? Meaning, Does she have backing? Or is she placed there to do the bidding of the white men of Georgia? Things happen. And they want you to look on the right hand when the left hand could be doing something, So don't look too closely because she's a black lady and to disarm you of any potential wrongdoing. Don't 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 believe everything you see, because I think they're going to try to set up something, a scenario. Now, it took almost 3 months for the video to go out, and it's the video of there was another person who was riding their vehicle behind the truck with the two killers, and he was videotaping. And his video was released to the law enforcement, and of course they got a lawyer, and the lawyer released the video to the media. I should say, it got access to social media, I should say. And I was surprised with one of the videos that I saw that a reporter sounded very argumentative to the lawyer that shared the video. Hey, why would you do something like that? He says, well, I want the truth to come out. And he said other things. Now, if that person didn't release the tape, those two killers would still be on the street. Because the video got leaked and everybody sees it, and so you have public opinion. And it also turns out, according to the reports that I watched, those videos I watched in a playlist, that they threatened the life of the person who took the video. Why is it that when someone videotapes a crime being done, why that person who's just videotaping, it's not like someone's videotaping because that's how they get off. But videotape is something that's horrific, and evidence, right? It's evidence. So the guy has a fiance. He's living with her, and they live in the neighborhood of the two killers. And they claim that they did not know. They don't know that those particular people, and that they didn't know that that the killers are friends of people higher up. I think they're scared. Yeah, they have a lawyer, and the fear that prosecution may arrest the person taking the video. This is going to be a very interesting case. See how things are being set up and manipulated, and they don't know each other. And what were the circumstances? I did not see anything on the circumstances of the people taking the video of the murder. Was it just by random chance that they were behind the car and they only took out the camera when they saw shotguns being taken out of the car and pointing at someone? What happened? What preceded it? And how did the two killers know about to get involved. That I don't know yet. You have someone who a neighbor of the people who are having their brand new house being constructed. It's a place under construction. It's not like furniture or anything. It's just the wall, raw walls. It's a work in progress. And someone sees someone entering the house, and they call the cops, and they describe the person being a black person. And at one point, they were getting excited because they see the person leaving and running. And so that set up a scenario. But the video, I couldn't find any videos that links the person who called 911 and the people in the truck. How did the people in the truck that ultimately murdered this 26-year-old, well, he would have been 26 years of age if he lived. He just had a birthday. But how did they find out? How is it that in this neighborhood, how word gets out so fast about a particular matter? Someone, a jogger, he's curious about seeing a house being under construction for whatever reason. And in fact, in my past, I even had gone into it was a neighborhood being built, and they were building series of houses. And I went in with someone and we took a look. I was invited to come in, not by the owner or the developer, but so I'm thinking, what if that could have been me? You're just looking around, whatever, and then you leave. You don't have anything in your hand or anything like that. And that was in Texas. That could have happened to me or anybody. What if they said it was a person of a different color? What would have happened? It's just it's a horrible thing to happen. Um, are we to be afraid to call 911 if you see something you don't understand what's going on? Someone comes in, it's a house under construction. I mean, people like to look at things like like I live in New York City, and there's construction going on all the time, and people might be curious about how things. I mean, in a large city, tall buildings are being built every day. Um, it's just something that's I don't know. I don't think it's out of the ordinary. But either way, communication was done. Everything seemed to happen very quickly, according to one of the videos. It has like the camera on, and then you have the time stamp on it, and so you see that things are happening quickly. You have they show someone going into resident. Someone from across the street comes out with a phone, and then about 3 minutes later, the person leaves and is jogging or moving away. And then this what else happened? He stayed out for a little bit. Um, I think at one point it was like a 4 to 3 minutes from the time when the the man leaves. 4 minutes did the first police car show up, and I'm thinking, wow, that is fast. And then it was a second police car coming to the scene. I see the place. I used to live at a place where I was raised in, and there was a burglary, a breaking and entry. I was home alone, and then I heard noise and glass breaking, and I'm thinking, what's going on? So I go to investigate. I see a man in the on the porch. He couldn't see me, but I saw him. And when he stood up completely, I could see his face. I said, "That's not my father. This is a robbery." So, so I run upstairs. I was on the phone at the time because I had told the person on the phone, "Hey, I just want to investigate something. I hear noise." I ran up. I told them to call the police. There's a break-in, and well, the person almost got in the main part of the house. It got on the porch. And it seemed like with the cops in New York City, seem to make a distinction from a porch, but it's all enclosed and it's a door required to get onto the porch, which was locked. They had those blinds. What do you call those not Venetian these levers, the glass panels, and you can remove it. You cut they cut the screen, and then they took out the glass levers. Yeah, so I know how I felt, and so no one wants to feel like they're feel vulnerable. And oh, I remember the point I was going to bring out. Now I called the cops, but they didn't come. I spoke to them and told them what was happening. I was very frightened. They never sent a cop. The person I was speaking to called their family, and those people were to call the cops. Ultimately, oh, and the alarm system called for assistance. Yeah, the person's place had an alarm system, but the police responded to see when this all went on, and I thought the person got in the main part of the house. I go climbed out the window and went on the roof, and a neighbor across the street saw me, and he said that he'll call the cops. And when all the melee was done, and cops came to the scene, and family came home, there's a lot of commotion in the house. I finally come out, and one of the cops had said, "Are you the woman that was on the roof?" So that's how I knew that who came to the scene, who do they respond to? They only responded when the house across the street, and the house across the street used to belong to someone in government. I think they were either a diplomat or something like that. Used to be. So when people like that live in a dwelling place, the house gets flagged. So any call from that house, you have to come to the scene right away. So isn't that bias? So they come right away for that, but not if you're a citizen. But some diplomat, they're gonna come right, but not for its citizen. But anyway, so I was just because of my this is my personal experience. So that's why I'm analyzing the thing as it goes on when I'm watching the video. That in about 4 minutes they were there at the scene. This is some neighborhood. It's not a high end neighborhood. It looked residential, and someone just a young person just looking in real quick and leaving quickly, and but but they remember they called because the person entered the property, not because they're running away. They were already on the phone when the person entered. So it's not like someone walked in, enters, and then leaves by running. So it wasn't the initial introduction of the person. The person didn't run into the house. They walked into, but then they left running from the house. So to them, it looked like they're up to no good. How did that person, from calling the 911 and those guys that lived on the block, was there a link or connection between those two? What happened? The owner of that house said there was nothing missing, nothing was stolen from their house, and that they only became informed about it after a while because they weren't able to get to their phone because the line of work they were doing, they work with bees, and so they could have just dropped the scene, the bees, and go. So they're trying to say that they didn't authorize anyone, all those the people, the killers. They didn't have any contact with them. The killers did what they did outside of the knowledge of the owner, according to the owner. It was Everything happened very quickly, and I'm wondering how this is something for this community, that this community of whites acted so quickly regarding one young 26 going on 26-year-old black male. And I'm thinking, wow, the suspicion of anyone taking from a white family. No one wants to be robbed by anybody, okay? No one wants to be taken advantage of. No one wants to be theft. But it's like so personal, and the tenacity that they have when a black person does something, allegedly does something that interferes with a white person's interests. When the place I was staying in at the time, they didn't have the police force. They didn't have an urgency to come. Why is this? Why is it that in in black neighborhoods when you call the cops they don't go, or they take their time, but in a white neighborhood they seem to go? So this has to be addressed. This has to be addressed. And so what else I was thinking about this whole thing, the tenacity of some white communities, they're very protective over their neighborhood. How come other neighborhoods aren't as protective? Why this tenacity? I look at the history of this country, and that they came uninvited. No one invited these Europeans to come here or do anything here, but they took over and did a mass killings of the inhabitants here, and then left the remains to live on what they call Indian reservations. And then they didn't want to work on the land themselves, They want to hide. They not hide. Excuse me. I can't believe I said that word higher. They wanted to gather, kidnap people from Africa and do forced labor upon them. So historically, they're really not in a good position to really take that seriously, in my opinion. It's just an opinion. Historically, you entered the United States without being invited. And it just seems like this tenacity of them feeling entitled or ownership. But if you do anything to them, anything that's perceived as gaining over them or taking anything from them, there is a very quick response from them. And that's what I'm learning. Why this tenacity of so, and it's not really yours. It really isn't. It when you really think about it, it's not really theirs. But this tenacity that they have when especially a black person, a black man, takes from them or perceived taking or embarrasses a white person. But you have the reverse. It's just very sad to me. I really couldn't believe that something like this could happen. It's just really reinforcing to me about reparations. Reparations is to repair a harm that was done. Excuse me. It's to fix, make better. See, they have a fear of you doing anything that to achieve because they are afraid that you will achieve over them. And I think most of us don't care what they have. You just mind your own affairs and move on. It's very deliberate, and it's something I feel that's being taught, whether consciously or unconsciously. This whole attitude towards blacks is being reinforced, and to actively do something if you feel that that you're offended or whatever. Why such? How does it really serve you? Does it really serve you? You're looking at us. This is what I really want to get at. You're looking at us. You're looking at black people. But this country is going through major shifting. And this shifting that's happening is going to affect you big time. It's going to affect you. So why this preoccupation now with black people during this crisis? I believe that things are being set up where they have to be very careful. And again, they have the video of what looks like him just taking a little quick look at this house is brand new house being constructed, and they could play defense that, well, we saw him leave, and so we thought that he had. They could say they thought they saw something in his back pocket, or they could say a lot of that. So soon you see and give possible credit the fact that the guy, the victim was, taking a look at the construction site of a home, a private house. So that when they saw him there, he probably took something. It's a real tragedy, a very big tragedy. And I didn't want to believe something like this could happen in 2020. I'm very disappointed about how this was treated, and to threaten someone for releasing a tape. If it was an edited tape, that's something else. But a raw tape, that's valuable information. So I think it's people high up. See, the two killers are friends with people higher up. Be very careful. I'm sure they're being very careful also. Be careful. Be careful what you touch. Teach your sons and daughters, if that's not your property, don't touch it, don't breathe on it, don't even sneeze on it. It's not your business. We have to keep alive. You have to instruct your children. You can't pretend because you have an education, or you go to such and such church, or you can't assume that they care. People care what they believe about you. And if the perception about you is negative, be very cautious. This person can't return from the dead. It's a real tragedy. I hope that they don't try to dig up worms on the victim of this shooting in Georgia. I pray that the truth come out. I pray that they don't do another George Zimmerman and say, oh, well, they didn't really mean any harm, and we have to let them go. They're potentially up to something. There is such thing as the Good Old Bull Network. Just be careful. You have to really start educating, especially the teens and people in their 20s. I mean, all of us, to teach what could happen. So those are my thoughts. May justice be served, and my condolence to that young man. What a tragedy. May you rest in peace, sir. Peace and blessings. Everybody has a timer going on. That's like the fourth time it went off. Oh well. Yeah, I'm getting tired. I feel badly. So may justice prevail in this case. And my condolences for this terrible loss. Yes, if you if you have tapes and evidence, I think it's always good to release. You can't always tell how people are going to respond to certain things, but people need to know the truth, and people have to see something in the context that it was done. You can't just do an edit on something and you lose the context of what happened. So I thank you for listening, and start really preparing and start demanding, hey, we're not safe in this country. Reparations, reparations, reparations. Okay? Thank you again, and have a safe week.